Oh, welcome back, everyone. I'm the MoeChicken, and this is more Super Mario Kart. Return to Dinosaur Land. I guess I just went on autopilot there for a second. We're going to be going to the Star Cup today, and I'm going to be playing as Princess Toadstool, Princess Peach, whatever you want to call her, whatever her name is, Momohime, whatever you want to say. But we're going to play as her today. So we are now getting into the races that are going to be a little bit harder. Wow. Yep. Super not good. Oh, but look at that acceleration, though. Dang, she's got some good acceleration. I talked pretty much the entire episode last time about the various character differences. And yeah, Yoshi and Princess, super duper good acceleration. So yeah, that's nice. Top speed's not great, but it's not terrible. Like, I feel like the whole divide characters up based on, like, their abilities thing is pretty neat. You know, it's a neat idea. It's just that the implementation's not perfect. I really feel like some characters are just not good. And I mean, like the heavy characters, what I was talking about in the last episode, I feel like they're not that great. And Yoshi and Princess Toadstool, I mean, they're fine. Still not great, though. I really think that the sort of best characters in this particular Mario Kart are the two lightweight characters, Toad and Koopa Troopa, or the Mario Brothers. And like growing up, I always played as Koopa Troopa. So there you go. But I wanted to try each character as I went through this. So we're playing as the dragon and the lady today. So yeah, I was speaking last episode about the manual and how much I loved it, and I do still really love manuals, and I think it's probably because of the Super Nintendo that I loved them, because the SNES manuals were cool. I mean, not all of them, sure, that's fair, but a lot of them were really neat. I talked about the Super Metroid one last time, and I remember the Yoshi's Island one was really good. The Super Mario World one is really good. And it's just because, like, okay, so you youngsters out there may not understand this, but there was a time when there was no internet and you couldn't look up anything anywhere. And stuff like official art for video games wasn't as easy to come by. Like nowadays we have like art books and we have the internet and all kinds of resources to get that sort of thing. But like when I was a kid, we didn't have that. We didn't have any of that crap. And so you had to treasure any piece of like art that you found. And especially for someone like me who, you know, I love to draw video game stuff growing up. That was like the way that you learned how to draw these characters, is that you had to find like manuals, or you had to find like coloring books. Like I remember growing up, I had a Super Mario Brothers 3 coloring book, and it was so cool. That was an awesome coloring book. Because I mean, like, it let me figure out how to draw like the Koopa kids. You know, like I really loved drawing the Koopa kids growing up. In particular, I always liked Larry a lot. Larry Koopa. Which is just, I mean, aside from his name, it's just a really funny name. Hey, Larry. Hey, Larry Koopa. You know, it's like the other ones are like Morton K, or was it Morton K Koopa, I think, and like Lemmy and Roy, and then you just have Larry. Just good old Larry Koopa, and he's such a derpy-faced guy. He just I don't know. Larry's funny. But yeah, I had that coloring book, and so that let me learn how to draw those things. But like, not so much with other stuff, and so I really love the manuals, I guess is what I'm vainly attempting to say and completely failing to do so. Or probably not failing to do so. I'm sure by this point you've gotten the idea that I like them, but maybe I've talked about it too much. But yeah, like the manuals. This game is a good manual, and I remember it had a lot of stuff in the manual that was like not what you might expect. Like it had layouts of every course on the mushroom, flower, and star races. And what's kind of funny too is that I think what they did was they just put the tile, like an overhead view of the tile maps for the races. So like when you play this game, because it is in mode 7, you kind of get this perspective on the courses based on sort of the way that you see them, which is namely this way. You usually see them in this format. So where it's kind of like recedes into the distance and like so forth and so on. I was kind of, that race wasn't going great, so I was kind of not paying attention there at the end. Sorry. But when you see them in the manual, you realize that they're like squares, and it's just like skewed, thanks to mode 7, which allowed them to skew things. And so I remember this time, I think I was coming home from like school or like a summer camp or something, and I had the manual for this game in the car, and I wanted to play it so bad that I was just looking at the racetracks and being like, man, and then I would be on this point of the racetrack and I could like get that item, and like I was just like playing the game in my head using the manual as like a bridging tool, I guess. It was sort of pathetic sounding when you say it that way, but I was very excited about it, so there you go. Anyway, let's see. What else? I feel like I was going to mention something, now I forgot. Oh, this is something I could mention. Sort of a funny memory about this game from when I was a kid. So, I had a friend growing up whose name I cannot place now. That's a good start, right? You're like, I remember this thing. I don't know. I think his name was it Justin? No, it wasn't Justin, but it started with a J, but it was like Jude or something. It was like I don't want to say non-standard, but a J name that I don't hear as often. Also, I think I totally just sent Toad into the corner. Anyway, I remember, like, when we would get to school, we would have to kind of like, stand outside while we were waiting for the... Wow, that red shell wanted him dead. Jeez. It, like, missed him and then came back around. That was awesome. We were kind of, like, waiting to go into class, and so everyone was standing around outside, and when that would happen, I would talk to friends. And so one time I was talking about this game, and I was raving about how good it is, and blah, blah, blah. And my friend was like, oh, well, maybe I should try renting it. And I was like, yeah, do that. It's so good. You're going to love it. Wait, no. That's backwards. I rented it. I was talking about it because I had rented it. And he's like, well, maybe I'll try and buy it. And so he bought it. And later on, we were talking, and it was like, I remember, I was talking about the special cup, and he was like, how do you get to the special cup? I was like, well, it's on the menu. You just go to it like you would anything else. Like, I didn't understand what he was getting at. And he said, well, I see special cup on there, but it's like black. I can't access it. And I was like, what? No, it's right down there. And it wasn't until much later, when I actually bought the game, that I realized why this was the case. I had no idea that you had to unlock things in video games. It just wasn't a thing I thought about. I was like, well, you just go. It's like, of course it's available, because I was playing on a rented copy, which people had already unlocked the special cup in, and I didn't, it's like this was a time before, like, the save data was stored on like a card or something else. It was like cartridge memory, so it was already unlocked for the rental copy. And so I just didn't understand the idea that maybe you had to do something to unlock it. Anyway, it was very silly. It wasn't until much later on, like well past the point that I was still in elementary school, that I found that out. I'm like, oh, this is what he meant. I get it now. Bowser's right on my tail. I really gotta get a little more distance between us. What was I saying? Anyway. Yep. Yes, computer? My computer says hello about something. Well, I completely throw off. You threw me off, computer. I'm all befuddled now. Also, oh no. Well, thank you, Toad. What a loyal retainer. He crashed into me from behind and moved me forward. Thank you, Toad. Your service is noted. If I pay you anything, I'm sure I will give you a raise if I can figure out which one of my many Toads actually bumped into me. Because I mean, yeah, that's something that's always been kind of an open question with Toad in my mind. Is like, is there like you think of Toad as he is presented in the NES and SNES eras? I just barely beat Bowser there. Wow. I mean, she looks completely shocked about it. Yeah, like, is Toad a specific Toad, or is he one of many? It's never really been answered. I like to believe that he is a specific Toad, that there was a Toad who is named Toad, but I don't really know. But here's that Cheep again. He's gonna drop that on her head, and now she's going to pop it for its indiscretions, and do this. So here's a funny thing. When they brought this game to America, they censored some of the victory poses. One of which is Princess Toadstool's. In the original one, she got drunk. Like, the idea is that, like, and this is another thing I didn't understand. I always thought that was a bottle of Sprite when I was a kid. It's supposed to be champagne, and she would drink it and like get all tipsy, and Bowser would like guzzle it. And yeah, they decided that's no good for American audiences. Anyway. That was the Star Cup. We've only got one left to go, and we will take it on next time. I am the MoeChicken. This is Super Mario Kart. Thanks for stopping by.